what's great about what I'm doing now is building a really good, sustainable, durable business, but it's based around safety. And that's it's a pretty good feeling to know you're making people safer. It's hard to measure people not getting hurt or people not dying on a job site, but but I know over time that we're going to have that impact as our volume and our scale goes up, that we're doing something to make people safer, and to be able to build a business around that is really rewarding.
Hello, and welcome to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group. I am your host, Matt Allred. In this podcast, we talk to the people whose lives and careers are dedicated to the vertical transportation industry to inform and share lessons learned, building upon the foundation of those who have gone before to inspire the next generation of elevator careers. Today, our guest is Darrin Porch, founder and CEO of SafeRise, LLC. Darrin founded SafeRise as a solution to safely address elevator installation issues throughout the U.S. and particularly around hoistway safety. Darrin has worked in the elevator and construction industry for over 20 years, including significant time with Otis and Schindler. He is excited to help make the industry he loves even safer. Darrin, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited. It's good to talk again. I remember talking to you several years ago, and I was impressed with your new venture, and we'll get to that in just a second. But I'm just curious, how did you get into the elevator industry in the first place?
Like a lot of people, it wasn't my childhood dream to get into that.
Did you even know it
wanted to do.
existed as a child?
It's one of those things. It's always there, right? But no one thinks about making a career out of that if
Sure.
it's not part of your family history. But no, I worked in the construction field for about a decade out of college,
Okay.
and I worked with a woman who was great. I got to know, and her husband happened to be the general manager for Otis in Kansas City, where I'm
Cool.
from.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew I was thinking about leaving, and she thought I would be a great fit for a construction sales rep job that her husband was looking to fill. So she connected us, and a couple of days later, I started off at Otis, and spent almost 6 years there, and then another 6 years at Schindler.
Very cool. All in Kansas City, or have you moved around the country a few times?
Moved a bit, based in Kansas City a lot, but also went down to the Southeast for a couple of years to manage an operation down there, and then took an area role, which allowed me to move back to Kansas City, which is where I'm from. So, and then just
Cool.
spend every week traveling out of there. So,
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. So at what point did you say, hey, this elevator stuff's pretty cool? I mean, did you think about leaving, or did you, see the fascinating opportunity?
No, I love the elevator business. I miss it a lot, the day to day of being in some of those companies because of the people. A lot of great friends, a lot of great leaders that I worked for.
Sure.
Learned a lot, and the companies always treated me well. It was really just looking for, as you climb and climb and climb, which I was on that path.
Sure.
In my own head, that's kind of how I'm built, always looking for the next thing. You kind of get to a point where you realize maybe that next thing's not really going to be as satisfying.
Sure.
And then you also hit a wall. Everyone hits a wall where your skill sets and the opportunities narrow, and maybe they're not the best fit, right? So as you climb, the opportunities get smaller, and being in a position to grab what you want usually comes with some pretty big sacrifices. So either relocating to somewhere tough.
Sure.
I was at Schindler. If you wanted to go to corporate, you're up in New Jersey. I'm from Kansas City. There's no way they could pay me enough to go to New Jersey to make up for my cost of living in Kansas City.
Right.
So, and when you have a bunch of kids and all that, so it gets a little challenging, I think. The smartest guys I know were the guys that sold new equipment and just stayed in it in a big market and made more money than everyone else in the company.
Sure.
But I also just, I I personally, I get kind of bored with the same thing over and over. So
Right.
for me, it was keeping moving and finding new challenges. And but no, I had a great time. I have left on good terms with both the companies I left. And it was for kind of unique reasons both times. So I love the industry. I'm still tied into it with a lot of friends, and keep my ear to it because it's a fascinating industry that's always changing.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I can't figure out what they're doing, but it's always interesting to watch. It's more interesting from the sidelines than being in the heart of it
That is
sometimes.
funny.
So
That's funny. So
yeah.
I'm curious, what is it that makes, I just, I don't hear other people, say that, oh, I love the automotive industry, or, I don't know. I
hmm
hear the passion in your voice. I'm curious, what is it about the elevator industry that makes you love it so much?
For me, it's a mix of people. You may be in the automotive industry, but you've got a factory that's set aside, and then you have a different sort of selling chain. I
Mhm.
think what's interesting about the elevator industry is it's very integrated with its field personnel and its office people.
Okay.
So while you might have white collar jobs and blue collar jobs, you really interact and they cross over more in our business. So you see a lot of guys come from the field into the office, vice versa. I think that mix of backgrounds, I think that mix of perspectives makes it really interesting from a people standpoint.
Right.
You get really a diverse amount of background, and I enjoy that because the most enjoyable people I've dealt with, say the most enjoyable, the most interesting have been people that completely different backgrounds, came from
Right.
the field, and I've grown a lot from being around them because you get to learn what they know
Sure.
without having to do all of the hard work out there in the field that they've done. So I think that mix of people is somewhat unique compared to a lot of other industries, and I enjoy that. You see a bit, not that it's perfect, but you see more of a meritocracy to where you have
Okay.
guys come from the
Sure.
field that don't have a college degree. Okay, well, 20 years experience doing what we do, much
Absolutely.
more valuable than any 22-year-old with a college degree, right? So
Yeah.
I think to see guys that don't have maybe that traditional white collar background can come up and still get to the highest levels at companies is something that is really good as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. It's
yeah.
it's to me it's inspiring, and in a lot of ways it's yeah, it's kind of the American dream. Sometimes I hear on, the news or the media, whatever, that the American dream is to buy a house. And I said, no, no, that's not why people come to America. It's to have your own thing or to do your own thing, is to have the freedom to, get out there and create something.
Yes.
And it seems that the elevator industry lends to that, right? If you dig in, if you learn, there's all kinds of opportunities to pursue.
No, there is. If you're coming on the field side, I mean, the union coming from union companies, they're unbelievable. The benefits and everything
Sure.
you get and the pay, right? I mean, it's a phenomenal quality of life that they get
Right.
for doing a very dangerous and technical job. So they deserve it. But it is a great entryway for a young person to go in to build a career, knowing that they have those opportunities if they want to go to school or if they want to get into the office setting and do some other stuff. If you're good at what you do in the elevator business, you will always have a job.
Yeah.
Hmm. Now, doesn't mean you won't get that, go through a layoffs or
Sure.
downsizing or whatever, but you can always go find another job if you're good at what you do.
Yep.
Um, and and it's a fairly stable industry because of the service base and because you have dictated things by the government.
Sure.
Um, there's only so much variability, I think, in the um, in the industry because of that. Construction ebbs and flows, service and mod. is something that always has to be there. So it does give you some stability that certain other industries don't have because of that.
Yeah. Well, like you say, if you're good at what you do, I mean, it's hard to replace a good troubleshooter. I mean, somebody that knows how to fix something that's down. I mean, it's just
It's only
always.
getting harder too.
Yeah,
You
exactly. I'm
know,
always hearing from
saying
companies,
that,
"Oh, please bring me a troubleshooter." I'm like, those
yeah, I mean
people.
the old timers that are all retiring that grew up with old technology, new technology. You know, it's hard to replace that brain power. I mean, I work with some just brilliant individuals
Oh,
that could
sure.
troubleshooting their head from a phone call, right? On a, hey, our controller from 1968, that's XYZ, and this is going on. And he'll just sit there and think for a minute and give them three things to check. It blew my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
it's hard to replace that. And with the way we grew up, and I'm not young by any means, but even my generation, it was computers and it was microprocessors and things like that. So, but the amount of old equipment that's still out there still astounds me.
sure.
The amount of switch gear and different things. So it's interesting.
No, yeah, absolutely. Like you say, a lot of those folks are retiring and, you got 40, 50 years of experience. You can't just hire somebody, off the street or out of college or even, yeah,
No,
to just replace that. So it's definitely a challenge.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
So you recently started SafeRise, and tell me a little bit about how you got into that.
Well, I had been kicking around an idea of starting a company and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew I did not want to start an elevator company or get into, that directly in that field.
Hmm.
Um, because I was more of my passion's the construction side of the business.
Sure,
And,
sure. What
most
just curious.
independents are, yep.
Sorry, what led you to get out of the traditional, the contractor side, and kind of leave uh, the traditional side of the business?
On For the elevator or for general contracting?
Well, elevators, I guess, specifically. So when you jumped out and said, "Okay, I'm going to do something different," what was kind of the motivator? You were talking about building your own business, and
Yeah, it was really finally got to the point where I felt like opportunities were narrowing,
yep,
and also started to have frustrations with things, which when you work for a big company,
those are going to come.
um, you have ideas in your head. You think you can get up and keep climbing and you can be more impactful on
Sure,
strategy and solving problems. And you realize you get higher and higher and you still don't have control over really impacting a lot of change. And
right,
that got a little frustrating when you present ideas that everyone agrees with, but they still won't do
sure,
because, we have to, well, and there's reasons for it. I get it. You can't just have people doing different things across a big organization, but these were structural problems that identified, and they sent me away to study, and I came back with solutions that they agreed upon, but still wouldn't implement, and it would save the company money. And I couldn't wrap my head around it anymore. I was just like, this is a bit crazy. So, I got to the point where you feel like you have enough knowledge, you feel like you have an understanding, you feel like you're ready to go off
sure,
and do something. So I kicked this around for a couple of years and looked at different potential businesses, and I kept coming back to just what's a problem out there that everyone complains about that no one's really addressing. And that's kind of how it led to my deep diving into what I get into and working and studying it and eventually building a business model and a business plan around it,
sure.
and then eventually just taking the leap after a year of just
Looking into
all
it, in
that
other
all
words.
that research and work, and then decided to go forward. So yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a leap to jump out and do your own thing.
It is in your 40s with 3 kids. Yes.
How long have you been running SafeRise?
So it'll be 2 years in June.
Okay.
So we just started really selling about a year ago. So
Interesting.
um,
Kind of building it
there was a
through
lot.
the beginnings of COVID too, or at least your research.
It
If you,
was, yeah, absolutely. No, it was, and coming out of it. So yeah, but yeah, so a lot of work up front, and then a lot of discussions with a lot of people, and surrounded myself with some really good people that I could rely on to bounce ideas off of, get input on to make sure I was really minimizing my downside and minimizing my risk if I was to do this, and really making sure that I was challenged on all my assumptions and the plan as a whole
yeah,
to make sure, there's no guarantee, but minimize that risk as much as possible, or kind of maximize chance for success
cool.
by telling people to find out why this isn't going to work, right? So
Yeah.
that was
So
my
for
first
those
step.
listeners that aren't even familiar with SafeRise, tell us what it is. Just what problem you're solving, and
Sure. So in the construction business and the installation business, the thing that has to be done before anyone will step on site is these hoistway openings all need to be barricaded to OSHA standards. So traditionally, the elevator companies, soups will go out, they'll have a pre-start checklist, they will present them with how they want these done. Depending on the company, depending on the superintendent, they vary across the country.
sure.
But basically, you are putting a handrail, a mid rail, a toe kick, and then you're dropping like pearl weave netting over it to keep debris from going into the hoistway. Right. The idea is to protect people from falling.
Sure.
Number one, and then number two, to keep debris from going in, or any projectiles coming down the hoistway that could injure an
Oh man.
installer.
Yeah.
Right. So if you can imagine, even if you're not in the business, I show people what's out there, and they shake their heads that's even allowed.
Sure.
Is the problem is it's a construction site. People move
Yeah.
stuff, they get moved, the netting gets ripped, moved out of the way, and if you're not constantly inspecting it and staying on top of it, you can have real risk on your job site, right? And
Well, and
you're not
even
really
netting itself
securing
is probably not super secure, right? If something got tossed or thrown, I mean, it could, I assume, just fly through
It
and
can. It can, for sure. I mean, if it is totally secured and you're doing it, it would take something pretty strong to go through it. But the number of times that I've been on a job site where it is secured properly and everything's in place well is pretty rare. I mean,
rare.
I'm
Wow.
talking very, very rare. So typically it's just hanging down loose a
Well, and
lot.
you've got
And
how many?
then
I mean,
and then it's
depending on the
divided in the
project,
middle. Yeah,
right?
like a curtain. And so what if something
Okay.
shoots through the middle of it? I mean,
Right.
it's not going to hold a lot.
Well, and you've got,
So
if you got a multi-story building and you got stops on every floor and you got banks of elevators, you're going to have multiple opportunities for something to be insecure, right? It might be good here
right,
and here, and but not here and here, or
right. So so the key when you look at that problem is, number one, what are the things that the elevator companies want, right? And
sure,
these are it's two things. One, it's safety,
right,
obviously number one, they want their guys safe. But the other thing that goes in tandem with that is efficiency of the installation, right?
right,
So you have to have a product that is not going to impede. Best case, it helps efficiency
okay,
because they are squeezed tight on hours that they
oh
have
sure,
to install these things. It is a very competitive business. So they don't have a ton of extra time to do things. They want it simplified. They want to show up. They want consistency. And then they want to keep their guys safe. So
absolutely,
there's ways guys are going to work in the hoistway. They need to tie off before they get themselves in a fall hazard. A lot of these two by situations don't really allow for it. Guys are pulling stuff away from the wall and then kind of leaning in and tying off. We designed a steel system, collapses down,
cool,
that has a 4 foot wide door on it that's locked. So the elevator guys have a key, the general contractor has a key. Keeps everybody else out of the hoistway.
Sure.
People love to look in hoistways. They like to do other things in hoistways
I'm
too,
chuckling
but
because I do too, right? I want to look off the edge
yeah,
and see what's
I don't
down
always
there.
look down. Well, the problem is guys hold a flashlight and they drop something and these things happen.
Yeah.
And then they also pull it aside to look in and then they get distracted and they forget to put it back in place, right?
Sure.
So these things aren't secured in. You can move them. I've seen guys take 2x rails off to go use as a sawhorse to help cut other
Oh my
stuff.
gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So um so addressing those two things for the elevator company is number one.
Hmm.
Um the other thing from the business standpoint is the elevator companies don't want to do this. They don't want responsibility for it because number one, they need to be up prior to them coming to the job anyway.
Sure.
So they're like general contractors should own this. They need to have it up as the building goes up. I agree 100%. A lot of times elevator has to be responsible for maintaining it when they get on site. But aside from that, it's back on the GC. So my sale is creating the steel system that is rentable,
Okay.
that I can rent to general contractors directly, or
Fascinating.
certain general contractors have yards or they have internal rental companies for their companies, so they may want to purchase stock,
Okay.
which we do as well. Um, but to sell to the general contractor is a little different sell, right? So their pain points are we're building these things probably twice on a job. They
Sure.
throw up a barricade when concrete guys are done pouring, and then they have to rebuild the barricade to the elevator specs before they come on site. The good ones are working ahead and only doing it once, but a lot of guys aren't.
Sure.
So you're looking at double material, double time, and then all that waste because this stuff gets thrown away
No,
at the end
sure.
of the
Once
job.
it's done, you're not going to use it again. Right.
Yeah. But the ongoing problem is number one, it's a pain point between elevator guys and general contractors have notorious relationship issues.
Oh,
I'll,
sure.
I'll say that. So this is just one more pain point.
Right.
If we can eliminate that pain point at the start of a job to where there's a consistent solution everyone accepts and everyone is prepared for,
Right.
not only is it safer to have a consistent solution on a job, but it's one less thing to coordinate and have to deal with.
Right.
So we take that off the table. But for superintendents, really it's the ease of putting something in that they know will be accepted. And two, it eliminates their inspection and maintenance that they're having to do consistently on these jobs.
Right.
And it goes to the elevator guys too. If they're on a job and it's 12 stories, they show up in the morning, they have to go inspect each one of these openings because they
Wow.
don't know if all this stuff's in place, right? They want to be
Sure.
safe. And so they go and check it. Well, it's a lot of time to go
Sure.
12 stories. Um, but if they know there's something that is secured in place, can't just be moved, is locked and secured, then their risk tremendously go down. Their need to inspect stuff constantly goes significantly down. So we take away that headache and then the rebuilding of damage as well during construction goes away for the superintendents on the contractor side. So
Absolutely.
whenever I'm challenged by a project executive or a senior PM and they ask me about it, all I do is ask them to get their lead superintendent in the room. And I just sit back and let them talk about what a pain it is for them,
Sure.
the traditional methods. So for us, they're our best salespeople because they're the ones who manage it every day. They typically
Yep.
don't complain about it up the chain. So some guys don't realize what a problem it is. And then the other thing, that cost kind of gets buried in general conditions, right? So for
Sure.
them to understand actually what they're spending and the time they spend is part of the educational process when I'm talking with these contractors to really have them back into numbers to figure out what their true costs are
Right.
for this work already. And then talking to them about our offering and how we're competitive with those numbers.
Yep.
And you're going to raise the safety on your job. It's got all the secondary benefits, right? So no
Sure.
waste, all the waste goes away, all of that.
Yep.
But it also is really setting. And I was in New York City this past week with the big developer there, and he really liked it. And what he liked is, Darrin, this sends a message to the guys on the job site.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is an engineered safety solution. Everyone sees it, everyone gets it. No one else really is
Instantly,
doing
right? You
this.
you don't have to think very hard about,
Yeah, it's
okay.
not technology, all the tech that's great for safety. It's all awesome. But a lot of you don't see it. It's not a kind
Sure.
of a touch and feel thing. Anyone walks on the job site sends a message of safety. And that's another kind of one of the secondary benefits that is really there. So the response has been great. So but yeah, that's what we're doing. So, and to secure off those hoistways, and then we're partnering up. We're getting into other products now: perimeter
Cool.
edge protection around the outside of the buildings, debris netting that extends off high-rise buildings for falling material as well.
Right.
And then we're working on to be announced some prototypes on some other products specifically for elevator shafts as well, to address one of the other big problems out there. But I'll save that for another day.
Very cool. Yeah, yeah. For next time, right? So what
Yeah,
what would you say is your overall mission? What do you want to accomplish and solve, if you will?
sure. I mean, what's great about what I'm doing now is building a really good, sustainable, durable business, but it's based around safety.
Sure.
And it's a pretty good feeling to know you're making people safer. It's hard to measure people not getting hurt or people not dying on a job site,
Right, right.
but I know over time that we're going to have that impact as our volume and our scale goes up, that we're doing something to make people safer, and to be able to build a business around that is really rewarding, and is a lot of fun as well. So I still get to interact with my elevator guys. I get to interact with general contractors. People are shocked that I like doing that. Most people can't stand that, but I enjoy it.
Very cool.
And Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So really building a durable business. Going to start, being able to hire more people and do some things in the next year. And for me, it's building a company with the best people, and really giving them the ability to do really well. And
Right.
I've always had an idea of a type of company I want to be in, just based on my own history of different things. Um, is really being able to have um, great, not only pay and all that, but benefits, and being able to really take care of people and put them at the forefront of what we're doing,
Right.
and
Yeah.
um, and really build a really enjoyable place to work where, my goal is to hire experienced people that know the business well, that can operate really independently,
Right.
because we're going to be scattered about the country. We're
Oh,
already all over
absolutely.
the country.
Yeah. Eh,
So having the right people, and people I enjoy being with, people that can make us better as we continue to grow and expand in what we're doing in our offerings. Yeah, is really exciting. And that's over the next few years, we're looking to be able to get there, and really have put together a great team
Yeah. Well, it
to
sounds like you're really,
grow.
raising the bar when it comes to safety, but just raising the bar for, the elevator industry, the construction industry, to say, hey, we're really bringing in a higher standard when it comes to securing the hoistways, than we've seen, at least in the U.S. I think you'd said that in Europe this is common, but in the U.S. it just doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, down in the UK and Australia, you'll see their code requires locked access into elevator hoistways during construction.
Right.
So where our codes just really require, I mean, it's pretty minimal what's required. Um,
Right.
so raising that level of safety, proactively with contractors and job sites, yeah, is a good thing. It's open. We're meeting. I've focused on more mid-rise and high-rise work because we're
Okay.
manufacturing overseas, bringing in. So we're looking at kind of large volume type work right now.
Okay.
That'll change over time as we build up stock. We'll be able to service the low-rise market as well. But right now we focus on that, and so we're working with and talking with a lot of the major general contractors
Right.
nationwide, and that's who we're partnering up with now. So we got a lot of different, very large contractors who we're contracted with or we're in talks with right now to get initial jobs out there, continue to get feedback, talk to them about how we can make the product better, and really get their buy-in, so we can solve. I mean, the goal is to solve problems, right? You're
Sure.
making people's lives easier,
Yep.
safer, but you're making it easier. Everyone wants things to make their lives easier, right? And on a job site, they want that as well. They got a million different
Oh,
boxes to
sure.
check, and if you can just take one of those things away on some tasks that they have to do, there's value to that, and they will listen to you, and they will most of them will want to give it a shot for sure. And then once
Sure.
we get it out there, the feedback has been from the field has been phenomenal.
Good.
So feel pretty confident. The more we get it out there, it's starting to snowball a bit already. So we just see that continuing
Yeah,
as
that's
we move.
awesome. Is that, I mean, something you can set it and forget it, right? You don't have to go back and visit it and oh, this one tore. Oh, this somebody stole our board for their sawhorse. I mean, you're not having
Yeah,
to.
100%. It's easy. We're a rental company at heart, and we
Okay.
sell as
Okay.
well. But
Mm-hmm.
we deliver to the sites. We
Okay.
go out and we do training day one
Mm-hmm.
to the general contractor. A lot of them are self-perform, or they'll have their carpentry company or their concrete company do the installation. We'll go out and do a training with them. It's simple. Um, it's very simple to put
Sure.
together.
Sure.
Not many parts and pieces, standing up and securing it, some expansion bolts into the slab, and then we can span across very large rough openings on shaft wall fronts, or just secure around a rough opening. But so we go through training with them, make sure we answer all the questions, and then really that's it.
Yeah.
So then I just stay in touch with them, stop by the job every few months. But for the most part, they're going to have it on site for 8 to 16 months, and then they get done. They put them back in their containers, and then we come pick them up, take them back, and reinspect them and recertify, and then rent them back out. So
Very cool.
really, it's a straightforward, easy process. It's just getting people educated and getting it out there as a new solution, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, it sounds like you're
that's
creating the demand for something that wasn't there, but to your point, there's been a lot of pain around it, and so hey, let's you know
yeah,
create the demand just by
yeah,
creating the product, and there it is.
yep,
Awesome.
that's it.
Very cool. Very cool. So, we're getting close to our time. Unfortunately,
Sure,
it's a pleasure talking to you. But since I like to on this particular podcast, focus on elevator careers, I'm fascinated by your career and how you've used that to, you know, actually move some different directions and really kind of
sure.
accomplish amazing things. What's something you would tell our listeners as far as advice or something you've learned along the way as you've built your career?
Yeah. There's a lot you learn. You don't realize it till later sometimes.
Hmm.
You're like, I wish I would have thought of this earlier, right? So
Right.
um, for me, it's really keep your eyes open at opportunities, and take a look at that, what that means. We get pretty tunnel visioned in what we do a lot of times. I know
Sure.
I did. And you're working hard and you're just pounding, grinding. But try to reflect on what's going on around, look at different opportunities. This need, like I remember talking about this like a year into my career, like, why do they do this? Because I was having to negotiate it on every contract. Like, who's going to do this? It was
Right.
a pain in the butt. So,
Well, and even when they're doing it,
um,
it was the 2x4s and a little bit of netting, right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. So it was like, why isn't someone doing something different with it? Well, someone's going to build a company in this one day. And I'm like, you know, but I also at that point wasn't ready to do what I'm doing.
right.
So, and that's okay too. But you may want to think about how you can start working towards that. If that's a goal you have, not everyone wants to go start a company. Not
Sure.
everyone shouldn't, either.
Sure.
It's a it's not for the faint of heart. You got to be a little bit crazy, I think, and
Love
have a
it.
tolerance for certain things, and willing to do that, and having a partner that will go along with that ride as well.
Sure.
But look at the things, and a lot of us get in the industry and say, "Oh, I'm in the elevator industry. What could I do? I want to start a company. I'll start an elevator company." Okay, that's an option. A lot of guys do it. It was not anything I had any desire to do because
Right.
it's really hard. And I didn't come from the field. I wouldn't feel comfortable starting something where technically I couldn't go out and do it either, even if I
Sure.
had a partner. Um, and I'm a construction guy, and most of that stuff is you build it through the service business. So look at other things. There's an old saying, I can't remember who said it, but um, you know, during the gold rush, you had all these people going out, right, to pan for gold and go
Sure.
after gold, and a few guys hit it. Um, but one of the wealthiest guys is the guy who sold all the pickaxes to them.
Sure.
So, you look at how you can support industries, right? And there's a lot of opportunity. This is a weird little niche, and finding those weird little niches where there's opportunity, you can build a whole business around, or at least
Absolutely.
you can build that as the base of your business, and then you can expand off of that, which I'm working towards right now. So, keep your eyes open. Look at what isn't being addressed. Where are pain points? What's a problem that could potentially be solved? We're seeing a lot of technology companies, even in the
Sure.
elevator field,
Sure.
a lot of guys who've left, women as well, that have gone out and started some great technology companies that are helping. Um, so that's fun to see. But for me, this was just low hanging fruit on a mechanical side of safety that wasn't, it's not super complex. It's an
Sure.
obvious problem, right? So, um, getting a product that works, and then, there's a lot of great ideas. If you want to start your own thing, you just have to get action going towards it, right?
Yep.
There's no shortage of good ideas. There's no shortage of companies that can be started. There's no shortages of things you can do, but yeah, do it.
Yep.
I had to learn how to manufacture overseas, how to import, what that meant, all of the, tariffs and managing that and figuring out cost structures, and then getting into the rental business wasn't a business I'd ever worked in.
Right.
So your financial plans are completely different than if you're selling a product. So you're capital intensive up front, and then the back end, years down the road, is where you make all your money because you pay off
Sure.
your equipment and then continue to rent it, right? So key was getting good people, and the key with anything is find a group of people, whether it's mentors, whether it's a boss, whether it's other coworkers, whether it's family, that have skill sets
Sure.
and expertise that maybe you don't have. So first thing I did was put together a list of about 5 or 6 people that I said, here's a group of people. They're really smart and
Want
they're
them on my
really good
team.
at
Yeah.
specific things. Not that they're going to work for me, but these are people I can reach out to who are going to help me and help challenge me and find gaps that maybe I'm not seeing, and try to do that before before I take on all the debt
Yeah.
to get something going, or before I quit a job. So really just surround yourself with good people when you want to do something. And that's true with everything. That's true with just changing
And just
jobs,
life. Yeah.
leaving industry. I mean, there's no shortage. Everyone knows if you're getting the elevator industry, your options are huge.
Sure.
The HVAC companies, the fire and security companies, the other industrial construction type companies are going to come after you eventually. So, um, but once you become an expert in your field and you're in the elevator business a while and you become an expert in it, um, it's a great skill set. If you're good at it, you can always find a job,
Absolutely.
which is great, and they're well-paying jobs. Um, but there are a lot of opportunities. So if you want to do it, you just need to think about it, find find the needs, find out where there are pain points, and then see if you can build a business around it and start working on it on the side and just putting together, researching it, and putting it all together. And there's nothing
Nothing holding you
really
back, I guess, at that
nothing
point.
holding you back if you want to do it. There's ways to figure out the money. There's ways to figure out all sorts of things to do it. You just have to want to do it. And that's the most important thing for anyone wanting to start a company. You better want to do it because you're going
Oh,
to be living
absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
You don't just leave it at work when you come home.
That's so true.
It's with you all the time,
Yeah.
more than you want at times. But for me, I've never been happier. It's been a blast. I enjoy doing it every day because I have a passion for it and I have control over what we do. And what's funny is when you start a company and you have a plan, you think you know how things are going to go. That's the one thing you're going to learn is you don't. The market's going to direct you, and but the good thing is you're agile when it's
Sure.
just you.
Yeah.
You can make changes at companies. I was going to rent. And I'm like, I'm just renting. And big general contractors like, we like it. We want to buy it. We want to stock it. And I'm like, well, I'm just rent. No, we want to buy it. I'm like, well, do the numbers. I'm like, yeah, you can buy it. Here's the price. And
Right.
they're like, yeah, we'll buy it. And I'm like, oh, that's great. That'll help finance my company. And so there's always just be ready for that. But that's the fun part. I said earlier, I don't like getting bored with things. I'm never, while I'm just selling this or renting this gate system, barricade system, it is the business itself is pretty dynamic for just what I'm doing. That it's
Absolutely. Yeah.
always new challenges and changes, and how do we scale up? Things are going good now. How we go to next levels and all that. So it's a lot of fun, and yeah, I'm
Yeah.
loving it.
It
So
sounds very rewarding. Like you say, you're able to create your own thing, and so thank you for being on today and just
sure,
sharing your new venture and your little bit about your career. And
it's
wish
a
you the best
pleasure.
as you continue to build your business.
Thanks, Matt. Same for you. Congrats on the podcast, and I wish you all the best as well.
Thank you.
Great.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Elevator Careers podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group, a leader in elevator industry recruiting. You can check us out online at elevatorcareers.net. Please subscribe, and until next time, stay safe.